Let's say that the woman went out in the morning and came to JinPingMei to inquire, but she said she didn't know. While waiting at the foot of the opposite wall, I saw Mr. Fu coming to open the shop. The mother-in-law walked forward and said a blessing. I want to ask, is the official at home? Mr. Fu said, why are you looking for him? You asked me the first time, but you didn't know him the second time. The official yesterday on my birthday, I treated guests at home, drank wine all day, and took all my friends to the courtyard in the evening. I didn't go home all night. Where are you going to find him? The woman said goodbye and came to Dongjiku before leaving the county. We are heading to Gulan Alley. I saw JinPingMei riding a horse from the east, followed by 2 young men. At this time, he was still drunk. His eyes were wet. He was leaning forward and backward. The mother-in-law shouted loudly, officials, please eat less. She stepped forward and grabbed the horse's bit. JinPingMei was drunk and asked, you are Wang Ganyang. Do you think it is sixth sister who is looking for me? The woman whispered into his ear. After a few words, JinPingMei said, young man came to my house to tell me. I know that sixth sister is annoyed with me, so I will go now, talk. When he arrived at the door of the woman's house, the mother-in-law went in first and reported, congratulations, madam. It's a shame that I have invited the high officials to come here in less than half an hour. When the woman heard that he was coming, she felt like something fell from the sky, generally speaking. He quickly came out of the room to greet him. JinPingMei came in, waving his fan, half drunk with wine, and sang with the woman. The woman returned the blessing and said, officials and nobles rarely see each other. Why did you lose your slave and never come to see him? The bride is with you at home, and it reminds you of your slave's family, JinPingMei said. Don't listen to people's nonsense. What kind of bride do you want to be? Because my daughter is getting married and has been busy for several days. I have no time to come and see you. The woman said, you are still coaxing me. If you didn't pity the new and abandon the old, what else could you do? Others, if you swear by Wang Diao, I will believe you. JinPingMei said, if I betray you, I will suffer from big boils, yellow disease for 3 to 5 years, and maggots in my pockets. The woman said, you heartless thief. What does it matter to you if there are maggots in your pocket? She took off a new corrugated hat with tassels on his head with one hand and threw it on the ground. The panicked Wang Po picked it up from the ground, put it on the table for him, and said, madam, it's only my fault that I didn't go to invite the officials. That's why I came here. The woman pulled out another hairpin from his head. I held it in my hand and looked at it, but it was a little oily gold hairpin with 2 characters on it. Golden horse neighs in the grass. People in Yulu are drunk in the apricot flower sky. But it was brought by Mang Yulu. The woman guessed that it was the singer who gave it to him. So she took it away and put it in her sleeve, saying, you haven't changed your mind yet. Where did your hairpin go? JinPingMei said, your hairpin was stolen the day before yesterday, drunk. He fell off his horse, dropped his hat, spread his hair, and disappeared. The woman flicked her hand on JinPingMei's face and said, brother, you are so drunk that your eyes are blurry. I can't even believe it when I coax a 3-year-old child. Wang Po interjected next to her, don't blame me, mum, sir. 40 miles away from the city, he saw a bee pricking shit. And when he went out to meet an otter and an elephant, he stumbled over it. So he looked so far away, don't look down upon those who are close. JinPingMei said, you are so tight. You are a prisoner, and you are making fun of yourself. The woman saw that he was holding a Sichuan fan made of fine red bones, sprinkled with gold, and hinged with gold nails, and brought it over to welcome the bright spot. After taking a photo, it turned out that the woman had been accustomed to knowing the affairs of women for a long time. When she saw that there were many broken eyes on the fan, she suspected that it belonged to that wonderful man. Unexpectedly, 2 of them were broken. When JinPingMei rescued it, it was already torn. He said, this fan was given to me by a friend of mine, Dao. I have always hidden it and never used it. I only had it for 3 days today, and it was torn to pieces by you. The woman ridiculed him once. When she saw Yinger bringing tea, she asked Yinger to put down the saucer and kowtow to JinPingMei. Wang Po said, you and your wife Fergie have been cheating for half a day, so don't miss the chance. I'm going to clean it up in the kitchen." The woman paid Yinger some money and arranged for her to celebrate her birthday with Simon. The food and wine were arranged, brought to the room, and placed on the table. The woman took out things from the box to celebrate Simon's birthday, put them on a plate, and placed them in front of her for Simon King to watch. But it is a pair of black satin shoes, a pair of pickline vanilla border, pine, bamboo and plum blossom 3 friends, sauce-colored satin knee pads, a green silk gauze, a purple thread belt in water gloss silk, filled with rows of grass roses. There is a hairpin with lotus petals on the head. There is a 5-character and 4-sentence poem written on the hairpin, which goes, "I have a lotus with a lotus head, and I give it to you as a gift. We share the same hair, so don't abandon each other lightly." Simon King was filled with joy when he saw it, and he gave it to you. The woman put her arms round him, kissed him, and said, "How did I know you were so smart?" The woman taught Yinger to hold a pot and pour a cup to celebrate Simon. Flowers were fluttering and candles were placed. As if he was kowtowing for times, Simon King quickly dragged him up. The two sat side by side, exchanging glasses of wine. The Lady Wang had a few glasses of wine with her, and with a blushing face, she said goodbye and went home. The two of them were having fun. The woman had been drinking with Simon King for a long time. And when she saw how late it was, she saw thick clouds cover the night, and dark fog locks the sky. The stars compete with the bright moon, and the green water and the sky are as blue as blue. Monks go to ancient temples, and crows fly in the deep woods, travelers rush to deserted villages, and dogs bark in alleys. At that moment, Simon King sent his servant back to his house and rested at the woman's house. Towards the end of the night, the two of them tried their best to have sex with each other, and their lust was unbridled. As the saying goes, extreme happiness leads to sadness. Time passed quickly. Dan Biao Song took the gift from the magistrate and left King County. He actually went to Lieutenant Chu in Tokyo, where he handed over the gift and delivered the box and luggage. After waiting for a few days, he got a reply and led a group of people back to Shandong. The weather was March or April when I left, but when I came back it was summer and autumn. It rained continuously on the road, and the date was late. There are 3 months back and forth, walking on the road to sit and lie down. I felt restless and in a trance. I couldn't help but send a soldier to inform the county magistrate. He also privately sent a letter home to his brother Wu Da, saying that he would only return it within August. The soldier first sent a notice to the county magistrate, and then came to arrest the Wu family, but it was just as it happened and Mrs. Wang was at the door. When the soldier saw that the door of Wu's house was closed, he called the door. The old lady asked, "Who are you looking for?" The soldier said, "I am the head of Wu Du who sent me to ride to his brother." The old lady said, "Wu Daling doesn't at home. Everyone has gone to the grave. If you have a letter, please give it to me. When he comes back, I will hand it to him." "That's normal." The soldier sang a song and then took out the family letter from his side and handed it to Wang Po. He hurriedly handed it to Mrs. Wang. "I wrote on to Ku." The old lady took the letter and walked through the back door of the woman's house. It turned out that the woman and Simon King had been crazy all night, and they slept together until dinner time. Wang Po shouted, "Masters and ladies, get up and talk to you. Now Wu has sent a soldier to send a letter to his brother, saying that he will arrive soon. I will take it and send him away. You must not delay. You must be early, it's a long time." Simon King didn't listen and everything was over. After hearing this, he said exactly, "Divide the door into 8 pillars and pour down half a bucket of ice and snow." He and his wife hurriedly got up, put on their clothes, and invited Wang Po to sit down in the room, take out the book and read it with Simon King. The book says, "I just go home during the Mid-Autumn Festival." Both of them panicked and said, "What's wrong?" "My godmother hides everything about me. I will repay my kindness, and I dare not forget it. Now my love is as deep as the sea, and we can't let go of each other. Worse fellow when we come back. We have to disperse." "What should we do?" the mother-in-law said. "Officials? What's the problem?" "I said the day before yesterday that young people marry by their own parents, and later children marry by themselves. In ancient times, uncles and sisters-in-law did not have access to the same family. But now in Wuhan University, after 100 days, the eldest lady invited some monks to burn the spiritual sign. Before Wu arrived home, the high official married him in a sedan chair. I will have something to say when Wu comes back. What dares he do? From now on, you two can live a life of peace. Isn't it wonderful? Simon King said. That's what the godmother said. That day, Simon King and his wife finished breakfast and agreed that the 6th day of August would be the 100th day of Wuhan University. Ask the monk to burn the spirit. On the evening of the 8th day of the lunar month, I went to the married woman's house. The three people's plan has been decided. After a while, Dan came to take him home with a horse. Time flies, the sun and the moon fly by, and the 6th day of August has arrived as early as possible. Simon King took a few taels of silver and came to the woman's house to teach Wang Po, and invite 6 monks from the Bowen temple to do water and land work at home, to pray for Wu Da, and to exorcise spirits at night. In the first 5 hours of the morning, the Taoist picked up the sutras, laid out the monastery, and hung the Buddha statues. Wang Po accompanied the cook to arrange a meal on the stove. Simon King rested at the woman's house that day. After a while, the monk came, shook the spiritual pestle, played the drum and cymbals, chanted sutras and repented, and preached the Dharma without going into details. How could Pan Junlian be willing to fast and sleep with Simon King until half the sun and still not get up? The monk asked the master of the house to burn incense and worship the Buddha. The woman just got up to wash herself, dressed herself up, and came to worship in front of the Buddha. When all the monks saw Wu Da's wife, they were all fascinated by the Buddha nature and Zen mind. They couldn't control their thoughts and were confused and became a lump. But see, the leader of the class is frivolous and does not know how to recite Buddha's name upside down. Vimalakirti is confused and recites sutras without caring about the high and low. Those who burn incense push over the vase. Those who hold candles hold the incense box by mistake. The alliance was announced, and the Song dynasty was mistakenly called the Tang dynasty. Li confessed to Li, and Wu Daling mistant Wu several times. The elder was busy and borrowed his disciple's hand to play the drum. The novice monk was in a mood and smashed the old monk's head with his mallet. In the past, if one's asceticism rested for a while, 10,000 Vajras would not be able to descend. The woman burned incense in front of the Buddha, read Chinese characters, bowed to the Buddha, and returned to her room to accompany Simon King as before. Put on a banquet of meat and fish, and go and enjoy yourself, Simon King told Po Wang. You can just agree to it if you have something to do. Don't ask him to bother sixth sister. The Po laughed and said, you two can just enjoy it and let me and that bald man deal with it. Let me tell you that when the monk met Wu Da's wife Kiao, she kept it in mind. After going to the temple to rest at noon, the woman was drinking and having fun with Simon King in the room. It turns out that the woman's bedroom is separated from the Buddhist hall by a wooden wall. A monk arrived first and was washing his hands in the basin under the woman's window. Suddenly he heard the woman quivering softly in the room, moaning and humming, as if someone was having sex. Then he washed his hands, stood still and listened. I could only hear the woman's gasping voice calling, Dada, how long will you only care about opening the door? I'm afraid the monk will come and hear me. Spare the slave and throw it away as soon as possible, Simon King said. Don't panic. I'm going to burn it on the lid too. The bald guy listened with great joy. After all the other monks had arrived, they began to perform religious rituals and pass them on to each other. They all knew that the woman had a man in the room, so they all danced with their hands and feet without realizing it. When the Buddhist service was completed and the spiritual treasure was sent out in the evening, the woman had already removed her filial piety bun and immediately burned the spiritual tablet, and, oh Buddha! The thief saw with cold eyes a man and a woman standing side by side in the curtain. Thinking of the activities he heard during the day, he could only play drums and cymbals randomly. The wind blew the elder's monk's hat to the ground, revealing his bald head. He didn't pick it up and just played the cymbals and drums, laughing together. Wang Po then shouted, Master, the paper horse has been burned. Why are you just opening it? The monk replied, "There is also a paper stove lid that has not been burned." When Simon King heard this, he ordered Wang Po send him the money quickly. The elder said, "Please thank me, Madam Hostess." The woman said, "My godmother said I would forgive him." All the monks said, "It is better to forgive me." They all laughed. Exactly, the partition wall must have ears. There must be no one outside the window. There is poetry to prove it. The adulterer burns her soul and feels dissatisfied. The doorkeeper steals the wall and listens to the obscene sounds. Sure enough, Buddhism can eliminate sins, and the souls of the dead feel miserable when they hear it.
Alright, this part of the story ends here.
Want to know what happened next? Let's listen to the breakdown next time.